Hi, you're watching the Daily News Simplified, which is your one stop solution for daily current affairs analysis of the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. And in today's DNS, that is 8th of November, we have divided our discussion as usual in two different segments. The first segment, it deals with prelims related discussion, and the first article is on cotton cultivation in India. And this has been in news because currently country is expected to witness a 6% reduction in the output of cotton. Whereas the second news today, it deals with lower Subansiri hydroelectric project. And this news has been in particular interest because the Subansiri hydroelectric project, it is witnessing a significant delays over the past few years. Whereas the second prelim centric article, it is on Northern Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO. Because NATO, it has withdrawn from Conventional Armed Forces Treaty and this has become an interest for UPSC. Further, in the main centric discussion, we will first discuss the issues related to judicial appointments. As this has been in news because of disagreement between the central government as well as the Collegium of Supreme Court on appointment of few members to the high courts. Further, we will also discuss the issues related to mental health because as in the recent past you have witnessed there has been significant increase in death by suicide, especially in areas like Kota, because students they are faced with lack of access to mental health, and this is an topic of interest from GS paper 2 perspective. Whereas our third main related discussion, it is on the finance commission because central government it has started the process of constituting the 16th finance commission, and this finance commission it is responsible for devolution of net proceed of taxes from central to the state levels. Hence, let us start our today's DNS with this first article of the day, which appeared on page 16 of the Indian Express newspaper. Now, as we've already discussed, that the cotton output in the country it is expected to witness a 6% decline. And this can result into several implications on the Indian agricultural sector. Now, this topic it is particularly important from GS paper 3 perspective because the syllabus it highlights major crop, and cotton is a major agricultural crop in the country, as India it is the second largest producer of cotton crop. Further, India is also a major exporter of cotton, both raw cotton as well as cotton yarn. Now, this particular topic it is important from prelims point of view because UPSC only recently in the year of 2020 it asked a question on cotton. Hence, we have curated a similar question on this cotton topic. But before discussing this model question, let us first know more about what is a cotton crop. Now, as I've already highlighted, India is the second largest producer of cotton, and in this regard, China is the largest producer of cotton. Now, this cotton crop, it is a kharif crop which requires a maturity period of about 6 to 8 months. Further, the type of soil which is desirable for this cotton crop is black soil, and this black soil it is more prevalent in areas of Deccan Plateau. Now, this cotton crop it requires high temperature as well as light rainfall or irrigation support. However, the most important characteristic of this cotton crop is that it requires about 210 frost-free days and bright sunshine. Now, the major cotton crop producing states in India are first states which are located in the southern part of the country. For example, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh as well as Telangana as well as Karnataka are major cotton growing states in the southern India. Whereas the western India is concerned, states such as Gujarat, Maharashtra as well as Madhya Pradesh are important cotton growing states. Whereas on the northern side of the country, states such as Punjab, Haryana as well as Rajasthan are important cotton growing states. Now, after we have discussed about cotton cultivation in India, let us now discuss the model question. Now, the model question, it states that with reference to cotton cultivation in India, which of the following statement is or are correct? The first statement, it says that the cotton is a crop grown in Rabi season, which is an incorrect statement because it is grown in the Kharif season. Whereas the second statement, it states that cotton crop, it grows well in alluvial soil of the Gangetic Plains in northern India. Now that we've highlighted that it is the black soil and not alluvial soil which is conducive for cotton crop, hence this second statement also is incorrect. Thereby, the answer to this model question is option D. Whereas the PYQ is concerned, option A was the right answer. Now let us move to the second article of the day, which appeared in the explained section of the Indian Express. Now this particular news has been in interest because the hydroelectric project, which is located in the Subansiri river, it is witnessing a significant delay. Now this hydroelectric project, which aims to generate about 2000 megawatt of power, it is undertaken by a PSU known as National Hydropower Corporation. Now the construction of this project, it started in the year of 2005 and it was expected that this project, it will be completed by the year of 2010. However, because of various reasons, this project has only been completed about 90% up till the year of 2023. Now this news is important because this project, it is located on Subansiri, which is a major tributary or the largest tributary of the river Brahmaputra. Now this Subansiri river, it is an antecedent river. Now this particular topic, that is tributary of major rivers, it has been an area of interest for UPSC. For example, in the year of 2016, UPSC asked us major tributaries of the Brahmaputra river. And hence, in similar fashion, we have also curated questions related to tributaries of Brahmaputra. But before solving this model question, let us first discuss what are tributaries of Brahmaputra river. Now the particular news it is related because of Subansiri river. And this Subansiri river, it originates in the area of Tibet, which is located in China. Now this particular river, it enters into India in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. And this particular river, it enters in the Taksin district of Arunachal Pradesh. Now this river, it flows from Arunachal Pradesh to the state of Assam. Now there are also major tributaries of this Subansiri river, and they are known as Rangandi, Dikrong as well as Kamla. Besides Subansiri, there are also other tributaries of Brahmaputra river. For example, on its left hand side, rivers Siang, Dibang, Lohit, Dhansiri as well as Kopili, they meet this Brahmaputra river on their left hand side. Whereas on their right hand side, rivers Subansiri, Kameng, Manas and Tista meets with Brahmaputra. Now after knowing more about these tributaries of Brahmaputra, let us now solve the model question. Now this model question, it asks us which of the following are major tributaries of the Brahmaputra river. Now from this above discussion, we can safely say that all these four rivers are tributaries of Brahmaputra, which makes option D the correct answer. Whereas Dibang, Kameng as well as Lohit are tributaries of Brahmaputra river, therefore the answer to this PYQ is option D. Now let us move to the third article of the day, which relates to withdrawal of NATO from the Conventional Armed Forces Treaty. Now what is this Conventional Armed Forces Treaty? Now this treaty, it was signed in the last years of Cold War and it became the linchpin for security of European states. Now this treaty, it aims at reducing the amount of troops as well as armaments in the whole of Central Europe. Now we have curated a practice question because UPSC in the past it has asked questions related to major multilateral bodies. Now we have also curated a similar question based on North Atlantic Treaty Organization. But before solving this PYQ or practice question, let us first know more about what is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Now this North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it is an intergovernmental organization which was formed in the year of 1949 based on signing of North Atlantic Treaty, which is also known as Washington Treaty. Now this particular organization, it aims to form political as well as military alliance of members of 28 members who are from Europe as well as 2 members who are from across the Atlantic, that are US as well as Canada. Now this particular organization, it has major functions which is primarily related to ensuring collective defense, collective security as well as crisis management of its members. Now the most important aspect of this organization is mentioned in the Article 5 of the Washington Treaty. As this article, it aims to ensure collective defense of all NATO members. Now what is this collective defense? For example, a country attacks on one of the members of this NATO organization. Then, by the virtue of this concept called collective defense, it means that that particular attack would also mean attack on all NATO members. Thereby, any NATO members or all NATO members, they are obliged to provide collective defense to that particular attack. Now the membership of this NATO organization, it is open to any European country which accedes to the principles of NATO as well as contribute to the collective security of the Northern Atlantic area. Also, the headquarters of this organization, it is located in the Brussels, which is in Belgium. Now let us now discuss the model question. With reference to North Atlantic Treaty Organization, consider the following statements. The first statement, it says that it is an intergovernmental military alliance established with the signing of the Washington Treaty. Now this statement is correct as we have already discussed because this particular military alliance was established in the year of 1949. Whereas the second statement, it states that the membership of NATO is open to all members of the United Nations. Now, as we have discussed, the membership, it is open to all members of Europe and not United Nations. Thereby, this second statement in itself is incorrect. Now, the third statement, it says that the headquarters of NATO is situated in Vienna, which is in Austria. Now, this third statement is also incorrect because the headquarters, it is situated in the city of Brussels. Now, how many of the statements given above is or are correct? From the above statement or from the above discussion, we can safely conclude that option A is the right answer. Whereas the PYQ is concerned, India is a member of all these 3 organizations, which makes option D the right answer. Sorry. Now let us move to the main centric discussion. The first main centric discussion is on the issue of judicial appointment because the news which is related to agreement or disagreement between the political executive, that is the central government, on one hand, and on the other hand, there's a Supreme Court collegium. And these two parties, they are in disagreement because of appointment of several members to the higher judiciary. And in this regard, the Supreme Court, it has said that the central government should not pick and choose a particular candidate based on their political connections. Now, this topic of judicial appointments, it is important from mains point of view because the GS paper 2 syllabus, it highlights the structure, organization, as well as functioning of judiciary. Hence, it is important from mains perspective. Further, questions related to judicial appointments in general and NJC in particular, it appeared in the mains of the year 2017. As the question, it asked us to critically examine the Supreme Court's judgment on the National Judicial Appointment Commission Act of the year of 2014. Hence, let us discuss what are the issues or process related to judicial appointments in the country. Now, this collegium system, which is responsible for recommending the names for appointments to higher judiciary in the country, it is a body which consists of members of higher judiciary. However, this body in general, it did not appear in the Indian Constitution. Rather, Indian Constitution in its Article 124, it highlights that the President of India, he appoints the members of Supreme Court after consulting the members of judiciary, which include Chief Justice of India and other senior judges. Whereas appointments to the High Court is concerned, in this regard, the Constitution in its Article 217, it highlights that the President of India, he appoints members to the High Court as the judges only after he consults Chief Justice of India, Governor and Chief Justice of a particular state. Now, the word itself, that is collegium system, it is not mentioned in the constitution of our country. Hence, you will ask how this collegium system came into fruition. Now, before discussing what is a collegium system, we must first understand the importance of this word consultation. Now, since independence up till early 1980s, this word consultation, it meant that the central government, it consulted the members of judiciary. However, the central government, they appointed members to this judiciary not based on the recommendation but only on their consultation. And in this regard, it meant that the executive, that is central government, it had a primacy over judiciary when it came to appointing the members of High Court as well as Supreme Court. And this matter, it came into discussion with the Supreme Court in the first judge's case. Now, this judge's case or first judge's case, it is popularly known as SP Gupta versus Union of India case of the year 1984. And in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court, it highlighted that the independence of judiciary is a part of basic structure. However, Supreme Court, it also highlighted that this word consultation, it did not meant concurrence of the members of judiciary. Hence, it also meant that the executive, that is central government, it had primacy over judiciary in the matters of appointment to the higher judiciary. However, this particular arrangement, it took a 180-degree turn in the Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association case versus Union of India, which is also known as second judge's case. And in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court, it highlighted that the powers of Chief Justice when it comes to recommending the names of the members of higher judiciary, it is unique, singular, as well as primal. Hence, whatever the recommendation that the Chief Justice of India makes, it is bound on the government. Hence, this meant that the word consultation, which is given in the Article 124 as well as 217, it meant the concurrence of the judiciary. However, Supreme Court also highlighted that the view or recommendation of Chief Justice should not be his own recommendation. Rather, he should consult two most senior judges of the Supreme Court, which meant that the collegium system that came into fruition with this second judgment cases, it included three members, that was Chief Justice as well as two senior most judges of the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court, in its presidential reference case of the year 1998, which is also known as third judge's cases, in its judgment, it gave a comprehensive and a definitive view of what constitutes the collegium system. And in this regard, the Supreme Court, it highlighted that the collegium system for appointments of members to the Supreme Court, it included Chief Justice as well as four senior most judges of the Supreme Court. Whereas on the other hand, when it came to appointments of the members of High Court, this collegium system, it includes Supreme Court, its Chief Justice, as well as two senior most judges of the Supreme Court. And only after majority of these members, they give a opinion, and that opinion will be bound on the executive, that is the central government. Hence, in the current understanding, we can say that the word consultation, it meant concurrence of the collegium system. Now, this is where the disagreement between government and Supreme Court and its collegium comes in. Because as per the news article, the government, it is not giving appointments of the Supreme Court judges a proper recommendation based on their political affiliation. Hence, let us now discuss what are the challenges that the judicial appointment process in the country it currently faces. Now, as we have discussed from this article, there has been significant delays in the appointments of the members of higher judiciary. For example, in the year of 2023 itself, about 37% of seats in the high courts and their judges, they are lying vacant. And this particular number is not just high in this year. As you can see from this graph, average pendency in high courts, it is above 30% in every year. Hence, we can clearly see that the pendency in the appointment process, it has been due to the issue related to judicial appointments. Now, the second challenge, which is related to members' appointment to the higher judiciary, it is because the judges, they are appointing judges themselves. And this means that the current system of India, which ensures checks and balances between different organs of the government, it is not ensured in this particular process. And this means that there is no say of executive or legislature in appointment of judges. Further, there has also been allegations which are related to lack of transparency of this appointment process. Because currently, the recommendations of High Court and its collegium, it is put forward in the website of respective courts. However, this particular recommendation, it not highlights the reasons which this judiciary has given for selecting or rejecting a particular candidate. Further, this decision it also does not highlight what are the grounds for selection of particular members. And this lack of transparency, it was also highlighted by members of collegium in the year of 2018. And this year, four Supreme Court judges who were also the members of Supreme Court collegium, they highlighted that the process of appointments to the higher judiciary, it lacks transparency. Now also, there has been allegations of nepotism, because currently there are many practicing Supreme Court and High Court judges who are related by blood with other members of High Court and Supreme Court, as well as members of Bar Council. And this invites the charges of Uncle Judge syndrome. Now this means that there is a lack of diversity in the constitution or members of Indian judiciary. Hence, we can see that in the year of 2018, there were no members of the scheduled caste as well as scheduled tribes who were judges of the Supreme Court. Further, this process of judicial appointment, it also does not make the judiciary accountable to the public. And this is because the current process, as we have already discussed, it does not ensure checks and balances. For example, There have been instances where people who have been accused of several crimes such as sexual harassment, they have been appointed as judges of Supreme Court. Further, this absence of accountability, it has also promoted mediocrity in the Supreme Court judges, because currently the appointment process, it favors seniority over the performance of an individual. Hence, this particular process, it promotes mediocrity among the judges. Now, after we've discussed what are the challenges related to process of judicial appointments, let us now discuss what should be the steps that should be taken by the judiciary in order to make the process more transparent. And the first recommendation in this regard is naturally to make the appointment process more transparent. And this can be done by recommending the names of higher court judges based on the recommendation of a search cum evaluation committee. Now, this committee in particular, it was recommended by Ministry of Law and Justice. And this committee, it should be charged by providing a list of eligible candidates, which then the collegium should consider, and only after this candidates, they should be recommended for names for their appointments. Further, this also a need to bring an objective criteria which should be based on performance as well as suitability of a particular candidate. And this objective criteria, it should be made public, as well as this also need to invite inputs of public in this regard. And only after this particular public, it gives assent to a particular candidate, then only that particular candidate should be recommended for appointments to the higher judiciary. Also important is the need to disclose information related to the deliberations of the Supreme Court Collegium, as only after Supreme Court discloses certain information, this will reduce the culture of secrecy that currently surrounds the process of judicial appointments. Further, this also need to involve other branches such as executive as well as legislature to the process of judicial appointments. And in this regard, the main inspiration should be the United States. As executive in the country, that is president, he recommends a name for a particular judge to be appointed to Supreme Court. And this particular individual will be appointed to Supreme Court sorry, only after the approval of Senate of US Congress. Hence, as you can see, the process of appointing Supreme Court judges in the United States, it involves both executive as well as legislature in addition to judiciary itself. Further, the deliberations of the collegium, it should be made public in both audio as well as video form. And only after this deliberation is made public, we can ensure the increased accountability as well as transparency of the whole appointment process. Hence, by making the process more transparent, by inculcating the search and evaluation committee's recommendation, or by bringing an objective criteria for judging the performance as well as suitability of candidate, disclosing the information in a public domain and involving other branches of the government will involve or make the process of judicial appointment more transparent and accountable in nature. Hence, this was all for today's discussion on judicial appointments. And with this, we move to the second main related article, which is on mental health. Now, this particular article, it appeared in page 9 of the Hindu newspaper. And in this article, the National Crime Record Bureau, it highlights that the death by suicide among students, it constitute 8% of total suicide related deaths. Now, this particular problem, it is very important from mains point of view, because GS2, it highlights issues related to development and management of social sector, especially with related to health. Further, different questions based on health and its need. It appeared in the mains of the year 2018 as well as 2018. Because in this UPSC, it asked us the question related to prospects of social development and adequate health as well as health for all. Hence, this mental health and its issue, it is important from mains point of view. Now, this particular problem related to mental health, it is a severe problem because as per WHO, mental health and its problem, it constitutes about 15% of total diseases. Further, in India, ICMR, that is Indian Council for Medical Research, in its survey, it highlighted that 1 out of every 7 Indians, they suffer from any mental health related issue. And in this regard, the issue of suicide, it is also very important because India in the year of 2019, it witnessed about 1.3 lakhs death by suicide. Hence, you can understand the problem related to mental health. It is very important from a people's well-being point of view. However, as this article also highlights, that India currently witnesses several challenges related to accessibility, availability, as well as affordability of mental health services. Let us first discuss these three pillars one by one. Now, Indians in general, they are very much aware of their physical health and they seek treatment in case their physical health is not right. But when it comes to mental health, India currently witnesses low perceived need because people, they give primacy to their physical health over their mental health. Further, this issue is further compounded by the issue of social stigma which is attached to the mental health because people who seek mental health, they are labeled as lunatics by Indian society. And this means that a person is apprehensive of seeking mental health and its help because of issues related to shame, suffering and isolation. Because this vicious cycle, it will be further enlarged because the social stigma attached to the issue of mental health. And this prevents people from seeking help related to their mental health issue. Further, India also witnesses challenges related to availability of mental health care and its services. First of all, it is because there has been a shortage of personnel related to mental health. For example, there are only 0.75 psychologists in India per 1 lakh population. And this is even below the world average. Hence, we can see that because of shortage of healthcare personnel, people are not able to seek help for their mental health issue. Further, India also has paucity of research as well as lack of population related data based on which they can determine what occupation or what sections of population are particularly vulnerable for mental health issues. Hence, we are, as an Indian, as a country, it is unable to provide an evidence based treatment for their mental health issues. Further, there has also been regional disparity related to availability of mental health because mental health care professionals, they are largely located in urban areas rather than rural areas. Further, as we have already witnessed, with social stigma, which is more prevalent in rural areas, it discourages people from rural areas to seek help related to their mental health issue. Further, there are also issues related to affordability of mental health care services because most insurances in general, they are not covered, they are not covering mental health care and its related diseases. Hence, it leads to high out of pocket expenditure for a person who wants to seek mental help. And this can be as high as rupees 1500 to about 2000 rupees per month, which is a substantial amount for a person from economically challenged background. Now, after we've discussed what are the challenges related to mental health in the country, let us now discuss what are the initiatives that are taken by government in this regard. Now, the first initiative that was brought forward by the government, it is known as National Mental Health Policy. As this policy, it aims to promote mental health by destigmatizing as well as desegregating mental health with issues related to physical health. Further, India also enacted Mental Healthcare Act of the year 2017. As this particular act, it brings certain rights to people who are seeking mental health benefits, and it aims to alleviate them from the vicious cycle of shame, suffering as well as isolation. Further, this act, it also decriminalizes the issue related to suicide. Further, it also bans electric shocks which are given to mental health patients, and it bans electric shocks which are given to children. Further, Indian government, it also brought Ayushman Bharat initiative. As this initiative, it aims to provide comprehensive primary health care and wants to give insurance coverage to a particular section of population. And in this regard, this Ayushman Bharat initiative, it also covers mental disorder under the non-communicable diseases section. Also, there are other initiatives which are brought forward by India. For example, there is a Kiran helpline which provides for distress management related to mental health. And in this regard, this helpline, it provides early screening or first aid or even psychological support to the person who are suffering from mental health. Whereas the Telemanas initiative, it provides teleservices or telemedicine services for mental health. Hence, it aims to address the lack of availability of mental health in the country. Whereas the third important step in this direction was Manodarpan initiative, which was brought forward by Ministry of Education. As this initiative, it aims to provide psychological support to students who are facing mental health issues and are unable to ensure their mental well-being. Now, after we have discussed government initiatives, let us now discuss what should be the way forward or steps which should be done in order to make this mental health more accessible, available, as well as affordable. Now, first initiative in this regard, it should be to generate adequate data, and based on this data, the government should conduct research as to how which occupation or which section or which particular age group are more vulnerable to issues related to mental health. And this particular data, it will help the government understand the size of problem, that is how many people in India are affected by mental health issues. And after understanding this problem, the government should take steps to encourage the awareness related to mental health and its issues. As currently, that we've already discussed, there have been a social stigma attached to the issue related to mental health. And in order to erase this social stigma, it is very important that people, they are made aware of the various programs, and that the issue of mental health itself, it is not a particular problem, and many people in our country, they are currently facing with this kind of challenges. Further, government should also ensure that there should be a sufficient budgetary allocation as well as effective utilization of the budgetary allocated funds. Because in the year of 2015 to 20, the district mental health program, which was brought forward by the government, it witnessed that only 40% of the desired funds, they were utilized, whereas 60% of the funds, they remain unutilized. Hence, in order to remove this particular underutilization of funds problem, it should have a particular allocation as well as effective utilization of already available funds. Further, government should also encourage better coordination between social welfare as well as health department. as only by addressing the problem of mental health in its entirety, that is comprehensively addressing the social stigma as well as healthcare related problems in a uniform manner, will ensure better mental healthcare services in the country. Also, important is the role of communities in the regard, because institutional help, which is related to institution which provide mental health care help, they are only available in limited amount. And in this regard, the role of community, it becomes very important, because only after community recognizes the need and helps the persons who are facing mental health issue recover in a more comprehensive manner, then we will ensure a better mental health care in the entire country. And this can be done by improving the access of mental health services to the entire population. And in this regard, the telemedicine initiatives such as Telemanas, it is very important from the improving access point of view. Hence, by first understanding the size of problem, then generating awareness among people related to mental health care initiatives, allocating and effectively utilizing these allocated funds, bringing more forward the role of communities as well as improving access to mental health care services. By doing this, the government can ensure better access and mental health of the entire population. Now, with this, let us move to the third and last article of the day, which appeared in the Indian Express, page 17. Now, this particular article, it highlights that the government has begun the process of constituting the 16th Finance Commission. Now, this Finance Commission, it has been constituted as per Article 280 of the Indian Constitution, which makes this body constitutional in nature. Now, the particular question, it is important from GS paper 2 perspective, because the syllabus, it highlights appointment to various constitutional posts as well as power and functions of these particular constitutional bodies. Whereas the Finance Commission is concerned, a question appeared in the mains of the year 2018, which asked us a question: how is Finance Commission constituted, and what do you know more about the terms of reference that are given to the Finance Commission? And in this regard, let us discuss what is a Finance Commission and what are the structural issues that this Finance Commission currently faces. Now, as we have already discussed, Article 280 of the Indian Constitution, it provides for constitution of a Finance Commission. However, this particular body, it is temporary in nature and it is constituted during expiry of every 5-year term. However, this body can also be constituted at an earlier time if the President of India feels like it. Now, what are the functions of this constitutional body, that is the Finance Commission? Now, this Finance Commission, it is responsible for distribution of net proceed of taxes between the union as well as state governments. Further, this body, it also provides for grant in aid for revenue to various state governments. And this grant in aid is provided through the Consolidated Fund of India. Further, this Finance Commission, it is also responsible for allocation of resources to Panchayati Raj institutions as well as urban local bodies based on augmenting the resources of Consolidated Fund of various states. Further, this Finance Commission, it can also deal with any other matter which is referred by the President of India. Now, who are the members of the Finance Commission? Now, this Finance Commission, it consists of a chairperson as well as 4 other members. Now, in this regard, the Union government in the year of 1951, it enacted Finance Commission Miscellaneous Provisions Act of the year 1951. And this particular act, it gives qualification of various members who are appointed to the Finance Commission. Now, the chairperson of the Finance Commission, as per this 1951 Act, he should have an experience on matters of public affairs. Whereas other four members, they should include a person who is qualified or has been a judge of High Court. Further, it also includes three members who have specialized knowledge based on managing finance and accounts of the government, as well as financial administration, as well as person who has a specialized knowledge on economics. Now, this body, it has faced with structural issues really in different times. What are these structural issues? Let us discuss them one by one. Now, the union government, it determines both the terms of reference and appointment of members of the Finance Commission. Let us first discuss what is this terms of reference. Now, as we have already discussed, the Finance Commission, it deals with any other matter which is referred to it by the president. And in this regard, the union government, it gives a certain list of parameters or considerations which the Finance Commission should consider while devolution of their finances. And in this regard, a terms of reference, it is given to this Finance Commission. Now, this term of reference, it is determined solely by the union government and not by the state government. Further, the members of this Finance Commission, they are also appointed just by the union government. However, this Finance Commission, it deals with matters which are both important for union as well as state government. And this is where the structural issue comes in. Because state governments, they have no say both in deciding the terms of reference as well as members who are appointed to the Finance Commission. Further, as we have already discussed, the body, that is Finance Commission, it is temporary in nature and it is generally constituted for a 5-year period. However, when a economic consideration comes in, this body, it is unable to discharge its duties in a proper manner. For example, during COVID-19 period, the term of for 15th Finance Commission was extended, which would not have been the case had this body been permanent in nature. Further, this body, it also decides the horizontal devolution formula. And in this regard, the term income distance is considered by this particular organization. And this income distance, it means that the distance between income of a particular state from the with the difference of average of top 3 income states, it is calculated to decide the income distance. And this particular parameter, it has a 45% weightage in terms of devolution. However, when a state which has a lower income, it gets more finances when it comes to this income distance criteria. And in this regard, states who have high income based on their efficient revenue collection, they feel aggrieved. Further, this body, it also deals with revenue deficit grant, which is a responsibility of Finance Commission based on the Article 275 of the Constitution. And this revenue deficit grant, it is provided to a state which has a high difference based on their revenue budget as well as their revenue expenditure. And a state which has a large revenue deficit, it gets more revenue deficit grants. And in this regard, states who have high revenue capacity, such as southern states, they feel that this revenue deficit grant, it does injustice to those particular states. However, it is also important to note that this revenue deficit grant, it becomes important in ensuring equity between different states. And it is a duty of a constitutional body to ensure that every state gets their appropriate size of their revenue. Now, the last structural issue that this body faces, it is related to the role of GST Council, because it is the GST Council which is responsible for deciding the demarcation of various revenues of GST. However, the Finance Commission also it decides between devolution of net proceed, and hence in this regard the role of GST Council it comes in conflict with the Finance Commission, because both these bodies they are responsible for dividing the net proceed of taxes between union and state governments. Now, after we have discussed what are the structural issues that plagues the Finance Commission of India, let us now discuss what should be the way forward in this regard. Now, the first requirement is to ensure that the states are consulted in the matters of setting terms of reference as well as appointment of members. And only when states are given an equal say in these two matters, then we can ensure that the states they have less grievances. Further, there is also a need to establish an independent fiscal council, because this fiscal council it will ensure that budgetary allocation as well as revenue collection of both central as well as state governments they are done in an efficient manner. And only when this revenue as well as other financial matters they are done in an efficient manner, then we will be able to reduce the differences that currently exist between different states in our country. Hence, by bringing an independent fiscal council, we can ensure that the fiscal health of different states they are more equal, and this will also reduce the amount of disputes that are currently faced by different state governments. Further, when it comes to grant to states, it should be done in a manner that it should incentivize these states to undertake steps in order to ensure more effective revenue collection, and further it should also incentivize states who take more efficient collections of revenue. Then by reducing this disincentives, it will help the Finance Commission to give grants to states in a more equal manner. And in this regard, the formula for devolution it also needs to be changed, because currently the formula for devolution it also it only includes income distance, and it not includes outcome gaps that exist between states in matter of healthcare and education. And by incentivizing states who perform better in both healthcare and education sector, we can then ensure that the outcome gaps in the country they are reduced and the formula for devolution is more equitable. Hence, by encouraging consultation with states in matters of setting of terms of reference as well as appointment of members to the Finance Commission, bringing an independent fiscal council which will ensure a efficient collection of revenue and budgetary process, giving grants to state in a more equitable manner by reducing the revenue deficit grants, as well as bringing a more equitable formula for devolution which will consider outcome gaps for healthcare as well as education sector. Only then we will be able to ensure that the Finance Commission will be able to achieve or discharge its duty in a more effective manner. Hence, this was all for today's discussion of our Daily News Simplified of 8th of November. I wish you all a very good night.